Let's talk about section 1.4. It's talking about the communication process model. We have already understood the importance of communication, objectives of communication in digital world, and then we have also understood what's the role of professional and who may be termed as a professional in this digital age. Now, with this understanding, let's go to understand communication process. What is this communication process? With the help of this diagram, we'll be able to understand communication process. The first thing which we have in front of us is the sender has an idea. Sender is having something in his mind and want to share that thing with someone else. So the first step is sender is having an idea. Then the second thing is sender encodes that idea in a message. So now sender has converted this into a message. Let's have a larger view of this. So now sender has encoded the idea in a message. Then the third step is sender produces that message in a medium. What is this medium and what is this message? What may be the difference between message and medium? Just to have a slight idea, message means I have to say something that you please bring a glass of water for me. This is a message. Medium, how can I say? I may give this in writing, I may text you, I may ask you, that will be verbal thing. So what is the medium? It is written, oral, digital, electronic, through WhatsApp, email, and so on and so forth. So we have lots of options with us. This is being termed as selection of medium so that the message may be communicated to the sender. So the fourth step is sender transmits the message through a channel. The person who has perceived this idea, converted this idea into message, selected a medium, is now sending this, transmitting this through a channel. I have already shared that in the case of text, so you will select a channel, that is a digital channel. Then the fifth step is audience or the recipient receives the message. So now the second party has emerged in the scene. This party has received the message. It doesn't mean that the person has read the message or understood the message, but only received the message. Now, sixth is audience decodes the message. Means the audience has read it, trying to understand, means decoding. This is opposite to the coding which sender has done in stage 2. Then stage 7, audience responds to the message. Means the person will say that, yeah, I'm bringing the glass of water for you. And then automatically 8th stage emerges, that is audience might also provide feedback to the sender. If feedback is needed, then feedback will be given. If feedback is not needed, then it will not be given. So this is, friends, a simple communication model, basic communication model. Whenever we are trying to communicate something with someone, then we may have certain barriers. I may say that I am thirsty. Then the person may feel that, yeah, I must be provided something to quench my thirst, something to drink. Then what should be provided to me will be a call or decision or judgment by the other person. And I was having in my mind that I want to have a glass of water, but the other person is thinking that I must be given a glass of juice. So there is a difference in communication. So a lot of such barriers are there. What kind of barriers we may have? The first one is being treated as semantic barrier. The second is socio-psychological barrier. Third one is personal barrier. Fourth one is physical barrier. And the fifth is organizational barrier. One by one, let's understand the meaning of all such barriers. The first one is semantic barriers. What do we understand by the term semantic? Semantic means similar words or words sounding same, or the words trying to carry the same meaning. This is something like semantic. So semantic barriers means what kind of challenges we may face. The first one is related to vocabulary. I am using a word in a particular fashion, and you or the other person may be in the habit of using the same word in a different fashion. So are we using the same vocabulary? This may create a barrier. Then the second one is jargons. What is this jargon? Jargon is the technical word or abbreviations or way to communicate in which a small group starts communicating within itself. Normally, like a small abbreviation, we say ASAP, as early as possible. This is being understood by everyone. But you may create your own abbreviation or jargon which may not be understood by everybody. So you have to be very cautious. Certain jargons are being understood by youngsters very easily, but such that jargons are not being understood by senior people. So with whom you are communicating, what kind of jargons you may use, we have to be very cautious about it. Then the third one is euphemism. Euphemism means what? That you are using discourteous words, harsh words. You may use soft words to communicate your thought, but instead of using soft word, indicative word, you are using harsh words. So avoid harsh words. This may create a barrier. If strong words are being used, then the other person will become defensive, and defensive person will not be able to receive the message. Then the next one is slang. Slang is again a casual term or playful term which normally may be used within a group, within a particular part of geographical area, within one say technical group. So avoid slangs if you are communicating out of that group or geographical region. Then the next one is abstract and ambiguous words. Abstract and ambiguous words each one of us is using nowadays. You got a message on WhatsApp, you are unable to understand what to say, you just said amazing. What is this amazing? Or you said beautiful. What's beautiful about it? So it's abstract and ambiguous. So this is also going to create a lot of barriers. And finally, friends, wrong translation. A word for the word probably is impossible to find. For a particular word in English, you will not be able to find the same word in Hindi. So you have to understand the feeling of the sender and then communicate that after translating it in a particular fashion in the same sense. So friends, these are the barriers known as semantic barriers. The next section, we have socio-psychological barriers. Socio-psychological barriers are three. One is perceptual differences, another is attitudinal differences, and the third one is conflicting signals. Perceptual differences are differences caused by upbringing, age, gender, religion, caste, etc., etc. So I am perceiving a particular expression in a different fashion. Why? Because I have a different perception. I have a different paradigm. Then attitude means a particular way of thinking. My attitude is positive. My attitude is negative, or it is neutral. So whatever is being communicated to me, it will be received by me in a way I take the things, the attitude I am carrying. The third one is conflicting signals, means whatever you are saying and whatever your body language is saying are the two different things. So the other person will not be able to understand what is the real message? So this is also socio-psychological barrier. The third section of such barriers is personal barriers. Personal barriers means what? Like emotional conflict. Emotional conflict means what? That you are having very high emotions, maybe negative emotions or positive emotions, excessive emotions. So we understand that if we are not stable or the emotional level is very high or low maybe, then it's difficult to express. Then this will be a personal barrier. A person may be, say, emotionally not that much balanced. Then that person will not be able to communicate effectively. Then the second one is poor listening. If the person is not listening well, then obviously it will create a lot of communication barriers. Then the third one is poor retention. You are unable to retain whatever facts or incidences the other person has shared with you. So how would you be able to respond? So poor retention is also going to cause barrier. And finally, premature evaluation. You are not in a position to understand, listen thoroughly, allowing other person to complete his or her expression or the sentence or the paragraph or the narrative, and before conclusion of the other person you are jumping to something. That is like evaluating quickly, premature evaluation. Then the next segment, friends, is physical barriers. Physical barriers means what? That there is a lot of noise. At times you must have experienced that you got a call from a call center, or you are trying to communicate with the company. So your call got landed in a call center, and in the call center a lot of noise is there. How can you communicate now? Or your mom is trying to communicate with you and you are in the market. You are having a lot of noise. Your mom is not in a position to listen you out. You are also not in a position to hear her. So this is something like noise. Distance. Distance means what? That we are not sitting close enough to be heard properly. So this is like distance. So if you are communicating, trying to communicate with someone who is not within a reasonable distance, then obviously it will be treated as a barrier in the environment. Then faulty equipment. You are in a position to see this in picture, that the old telephone is being used. The equipment is not good enough to communicate, to help you to communicate with the other person. Then what may be the meaning of the term time? Time means at what time a person should communicate. What is the appropriate time to communicate? Odd hours are there. Like before working hours, after working hours, you shouldn't make official calls. Even personal calls should be restricted in a reasonable time limit. Like personally, I'll never like to talk to someone, maybe a person within my family, friend circle, or officially after 9 p.m. No, it's a personal time. 9 to 6, 9 to 7, no communication. Why? The person may not feel like communicating at that time. So you have to understand the limitation of time also. Now, we have few organizational barriers also. We have already understood what is this organization. With the help of one organogram, that organogram is in a position to show the organization structure to us. Formal, informal, upward, downward, horizontal communication we have understood. So friends, if informal communication is not being preferred by the organization, or organization prefers only downward communication, we don't allow upward communication or horizontal communication, then this will be treated as organizational barriers. This will be based on certain rules and regulations, or if you want to talk to your boss or maybe boss of your boss, then you need to seek permission of your boss. This is organizational barrier imposed by rules and regulations. Third one is roles and status. Who is allowed to communicate with whom? Whose role is to share information? So these aspects are also being treated as organizational barriers. Obviously, this has nothing but to do with only one aspect, that is supervisor-subordinate relationship. Rules and regulations, role and status may not be allowing a particular kind of communication, but if supervisor-subordinate relationship is healthy, then the communication will be easy. But if it's not healthy, then obviously this will be again organizational barrier. Now the question is that how can we outcome of such aspects? How can we destroy the barriers? How can we come out the barriers while communicating within the organization or in the business? So few points are there. One, flat organizational structure. Flat organizational structure means what? That reduce the number of levels in the structure or organization. Taller the organization, difficult it will be to communicate. Flatter the organization, easy it will be to communicate. Then improved relationships. Just before this slide we have answered the supervisor-subordinate relationships. So let's see how can we improve the relationship. The third point is training. We should train subordinates and supervisors as well to communicate well so that they may not suffer from such barriers. We have to promote two-way communication within the organization, and it should be dynamic. Dynamic means both the parties are in a position to interact with each other. Timely information is also really important. If the information is not being provided in time, then the value of information will go down. Correctness of communication is really important. This will also reduce the barriers. And finally, the message should be clear and concise.